Welcome, Olaf, to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Vision Divine, this new album, Blood and Angel Tears, and obviously more things related to the metal world in general. So we'll start by asking, how are you doing today? How is the band Vision Divine during the last couple years?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the interview. Well, the band so far, I would say, is going particularly well. We are out with a new album. The last couple of years, we have been actually working to the making of this one and the next one, which will be released pretty soon. And so, in this very moment, as you can imagine, we are very positive, very busy, very enthusiastic about it.
Okay. So when did you start writing songs for this new album? Are all the songs new, or did you rescue any composition that were left out for the previous album?
Well, as I told you, we started uh, more or less, let's say, a couple of years ago. So 2 summers ago, to be precise.
Mhm.
And we didn't have any old song to take back. I mean, we always have some old material, but once an album is over, we usually don't like the leftovers. I mean, our rule is there is a reason if something is a leftover. So we generally very rarely uh, take something back from what we have left from the previous recordings. We wrote everything from scratch, and that's how we proceeded for this album. Then we realized we had 2 hours of music, which would be too much for a single album. So we decided to proceed and complete the writing for 2 albums in a row.
Okay, interesting point. Interesting point. So I saw that Always Vision Divine now constantly releasing albums. 5 years passed for the last album. So are you always working on new music, or do you prefer to focus it once you finish in touring? So how do you decide when it's time to work on a new songs and new album?
Uh,
Because it's been 5 years since the last album.
yeah, it seems an easy question. It's not so easy. Um, the truth is that usually I do not start writing anything new until I feel like I need to do that. So forcing myself to write something would only lead to writing some horrible music, at least for myself, of course. And so usually after an album is out, we tour, of course, we play around. When I play, I don't want to keep my mind busy writing new material. I want to enjoy the moment. I mean, the album is done, the stress is over, and I want to enjoy a bit. After we start slowing down with live shows, it depends on the situation. Usually, I wait some time, and then some days I wake up and I feel like, okay, I have some ideas, I have something new. If it sounds interesting, I proceed. If it doesn't, sometimes then I wait. I'm not in a hurry. I know labels always push for releasing some new material, but we made this choice long time ago that we only release music if and when we feel the need of doing so.
Hmm? Okay. So, how do you feel about this new release compared to the previous one, which came at the beginning of the pandemic? Because we started the pandemic at the end of 2019. So, which came during difficult times. So, how did things change for you in the promotion for this new one compared to the previous one?
Yeah. Um, in this case, in example, one of the reasons why um, we waited for 5 years is that everybody's already forgetting we had the pandemic. So basically, 2 years and a half have been lost. I guess if there wasn't the COVID situation, this album would probably have been released maybe a couple of years earlier. Uh, Definitely, this album is much better under this aspect, as you asked, because the 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 previous one was out. We just made it to tour in South America, and we came back only 3 days before the lockdown started here in Italy. So we had weird memories, uh, very pleasant one because at least we made it to have a full tour in Latin America, and then we could be home. But at the same time, then we had to stop. We had to cancel all the shows. I remember we had Japan, we had England, and it was all at first postponed, delayed, and then slowly we realized this pandemic was something more serious than everyone was talking about, and that's how it ended. That's why this time we waited a bit longer, and the situation now, let's say, somehow is a bit more normal than before. So we hope it's gonna keep on being the same, and we can all go back to having fun.
Okay, okay. So many bands and musicians see each album as a child. Each one is special is in own way. So what makes this album special to you? And what does bring us musically and lyrically for you?
Well, I guess every interview you're having with musicians, they will always tell you how special the album is for them. And uh, the truth is that unfortunately, it's not a lie. The fact is, everyone who just realized an album spent 1 year, 2 years over something, and it's like the last born, the newborn child. It's always somehow special. Then time will tell in 10, 20 years, maybe we will know if an album was more special than another one. But in this very moment, of course, I'm very, very connected to this album. And I like it particularly because actually all the targets we had, all the goals we wanted to reach, uh, are there. The album sounds exactly the way we wanted. The songs are good to us. We are very satisfied with how things are going with magazines, the reviews, how the people are receiving this album. And right now we are very, very satisfied with it.
Okay, okay. So, okay. Now, how do you feel the reception of the fans and press to to this album, to this new album has been so far? Have what have the reviews been like? Do you usually read reviews or criticism that are uploaded online, and how do you take the reviews?
Oh, I take them as a curiosity matter, but I actually try to stay as distant as I can. I'm old enough, I have enough experience to understand every review or every comment from fans is a personal view, is a personal comment, is a point of view, which doesn't necessarily meet my same expectations or my same view of the whole thing. So uh, I am not lying. Of course, every musician is going to be hurt when someone writes very bad things about something and is very pleased when someone like what you did. But I still try to stay reasonable and to read them as an out of an interest. Like, let's see uh, what people got of everything I wrote. And well, in this particular occasion, we are very, very happy because so far every review has been very positive about it. I am uh, surely there's going to be something around, but so far I haven't found anything bad about the album. So everyone more or less is liking the album. Of course, there's someone who would like something different, but that's always going to be like that. If you make everything black, someone would like it white, or vice versa. So I'm happy with the results so far. Very happy.
Okay, okay, interesting, interesting. Thanks for this. Well, the band has had a changed vocalist since your previous album when all the heroes are dead. So, and that always is a difficult thing. So how have felt the reaction of the fans and press to the new vocals or contributions on the voice? And what did he bring to these both albums for you for the
Yes, it's for a band, replacing the vocalist is the most difficult thing, because uh, I play the guitar, I write the songs, I write music, uh, but I know the vocalist is going to be the main focus on stage. Is going to be, uh, especially in a band like us, since we changed three singers now, is going to be there's going to be some particular interest on checking the new vocals out. And Ivan had a very tough job with the previous one because he was succeeding famous singers like Michele Lupi and Fabio Leone, very good ones. Um, the first one, we have been very lucky. People welcomed him in a very special way. I have been very grateful to people because, again, besides someone who, of course, preferred either Fabio or Michele, but the overall situation has been very positive, and Ivan had the chance to join the band and slowly learn to take his own space into the band and play his own role, which with his new album is, in my opinion, much clearer, much stronger. This time, Ivan has been completely free to interpret the songs and to apply his own style to the music, much more than probably he's been with the previous album.
Okay, okay. So, as a veteran band, what inspired you to create new music a bet on a re-releases in a digital age now, where you have hundreds of bands releasing albums every weekend? So, by every weekend, we have more than 50 albums. Even we are in the media, but we don't have time to hear more than 50, 70, or 100 releases per weekend. That's impossible for us. So there is a lot of competition and a lot of style. So do you feel like to have to compete with many bands nowadays?
Uh, Not really, not really. The situation, I agree with you. I mean, the situation is somehow crazy nowadays. But let's say in our case, I wouldn't use a joke to explain, but sometimes being old has some positive sides. Having a history, having some 25 years career makes it possible that whenever we have a release, anyone in a way or another has at least already heard of the band. So when the new release is announced, it will catch a bit more attention naturally than, let's say, a newcomer band with their first album. In this, of course, this is one of the few luck that you have by being a bit older, the career, the long story. We have fans around the world anyway, sharing the news everywhere. And well, that's that's a good side. I mean, we are not in competition with anyone. We are in competition with ourselves. Every time we release something, we try to take it from where we stopped the album before, and we try to proceed with some new goals, new ideas, and of course, we try to at the same time we try to do something that people who knows us may like, and at the same time, we hope some new people will discover the band and will give a chance to some band, which when you read, say, it's the ninth album. Oh, wow. I never listened to them. I have heard of them. Maybe let's pay a check on them and let's see what happens. So that's the only competition we have. No competition with other bands.
Okay, okay. So, talking about now the cover art, especially with this new album and the previous one, I saw that you return in time to present. Oh, no, with this new one, especially, you're returning on time presenting the angel on the cover art, because since you start the band and Vision Divine or Send Me the Angel, it was an angel, and during the six albums, you use this like a pet or mascot of the band,
Yeah.
the angel. Just three albums of you, there's no angel there, but there's more. There's a different concept of the cover art. So perhaps this pet or this mascot for you has a name, or this character has a name and special, and it means something special for the band to return to the roots with the angel.
Yeah, well, actually, the only cover where actually there's no angel at all is
Mhm.
Destination Set to Nowhere, released in 2012. In every other cover, if you check carefully, there is always been an angel in a way or another. But in this specific album, the angel you can see in the cover beside the tree, the one in the center, is exactly the same one we used for our first album.
Okay.
And it has a very strong meaning to us, especially to me, because I am the one writing lyrics. I often use angels in the lyrics I write. And as I always said, since my very first album, this guardian angel is not actually used in a way like Stripers would do. We are not a Christian band, but the angel, the guardian angel, in my idea, means our own conscience, your inner conscience. So basically, the angel is the representation of myself, but the inner side, the one I don't even know myself 100%. And by bringing it back this time, we wanted to make it like to develop a bit. This story, of course, has this angel as main character. We gave it a name. We gave him a name. This name, now he has a name. His name is Azar. And and the whole story goes around this angel and the other two. And as I said, the concept behind it has a two-way of interpretation, because of course there's the fantasy story on the first level, but the inner lower part is a story about someone's inner conscience trying to develop and change during the story.
Okay. Other detail that captured my attention on this new album is because this is the second time that you use the chapters. In Stream of Consciousness, you use this topic, chapter 1 to chapter 14, so 14 songs there. And now you return to this topic on the blood and angels and tears. You are using 11 chapters to do so. Hello?
Yeah. I just lost you just a second. Sorry, I touched something by mistake. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I was listening to.
Okay. I will repeat the question by anyway. So
okay.
This is the second time that I saw that Vision Divine use chapters in their songs. Your first time it was in Stream of Consciousness, and with chapter 14 chapters. Now we have 11 chapters of this. So that is common. There is a common thing, that is common way to think that this album has 11 chapters. Perhaps it is a concept album for this.
Yes, it's a concept album, and the chapter the chapter story has been used already for Stream of Consciousness, and the ending of that concept, which was 25th Hour, because 25th Hour is basically the continuation and the ending of the story started with Stream of Consciousness. And again, we wanted to bring some small details that were making people understand we were bringing back a bit of the good old times of the band, when people were liking Stream of Consciousness, the first Vision Divine album, even by the graphic, the presentation, the chapters, we wanted people to feel more comfortable with the whole thing.
Okay. So talking about now the promotion of this, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh yeah. So talking about the promotion of this new album, what kind of plans do you have for this new album? You mentioned me during the previous conversations that the release party will be by the end of the week of this week. So, and perhaps you will have more. Perhaps you will present more videos. You will embark in a new tours, Latin America. Perhaps you will return again. Who knows? What kind of plans do you have for Vision Divine and Blood and Angels Tears?
Yeah. Our plan now is, of course, to start planning live shows. We started already. We already have some offers for 2025, and we are right now in this moment dealing with some festivals for the next summer in Europe. We got our first contacts with Latin America, so we would really like to come back to South America and Latin America, because it's always been a special place for us. And at the same time, we are trying to arrange Japan at the same time. So I hope we're going to be busy in the next months. And at the same time, we already know that with 2025, we will be anyway programming the release of the second chapter of this concept. So it's going to be a very long and busy year from here until the end of 2025.
Okay, I understand. Well, talking about other kind of topics, usually when you see the topic about the artificial intelligence and how fast it advancement that it even being used during the arts, both and for composing music or for graphic arts. So how do you see this from your perspective, and do you think in the future we'll use it to compose, design a cover, or perhaps to do a video, for example?
Well, I am honest with you. I don't know much about these things. I am old style. I don't even use socials that much. So I am not an expert, and at the same time, I could be pretty naive on some points because I am not really informed and I don't really care to know that much. Why? Because to me, it doesn't change much.
Mm.
I am going to write music the same way I was when I was a teenager. I'm still going to use my guitar. Sometimes I still use paper to write notes down. And it may sound ridiculous to some new generation, but at the same time, I have seen the CD come, and it, people say they would have killed the vinyl. Then
Mhm.
we have the MP3, and they say it would kill music. And then we had all the era of emule and torrent music and the
Mm.
savage downloads. And then we had Facebook, and then before Facebook we had MySpace. Some new generation won't even remember MySpace. Before Facebook there was MySpace,
Urbanity.
and there is nothing we can do about it. I mean, you can complain, you can blabber, but these things will always proceed, you like it or not. So what can I do is do what I do the way I do and try to be myself. In this case, in my album case, an example, the graphic designer has been using some AI to complete the cover.
Mm.
Uh, some people, some thanks God, just a couple of guys, but someone came up with this, protesting and complaining that AI is not art. Uh, Basically, since as I told you, I'm not such an expert. I just saw what I saw and I liked it. And I say, this is one of the best covers I ever had. Then I
Mm.
was asking more information, and the designer explained me that nowadays it's impossible to say, I don't use AI unless you want to paint by hand. Of course, you can still do it, but then the time needed and and the budget needed is going to be really higher. So let me ask you, what is the difference between accelerating a graphic work? I don't mean letting the computer create it. That would be, of course, soulless and very cold. But when an artist realizes a drawing and then is using the computer to make it quicker, what is the difference when bands are using the computer in studio to record the music? Because nowadays there's no more tape going for the recordings. Everyone is using a computer,
Yeah.
and that's what's making me smile a bit. When people are so aggressive against something, they are aggressive against technology, and they express their hate by using a computer and typing it on Facebook. Then I
Mm.
would say, why don't you write a paper and send me a mail through ordinary post? Again, technology is part of our lives and it's going to be stronger and stronger. There's nothing we can do about it. The
Mm.
only problem is how you're going to use it. What do you want to do with that? If
Mm.
I would use AI to write music for me, and then I would use AI to write lyrics for me, and then I would not be playing music anymore. So basically, I would be dead already.
Mm. Yeah. Well, that that is true. That is true.
The problem,
Well,
the problem is the use you make of something. It's not that it's like a gun. A gun existing is not dangerous, but the gun itself, it stays on a table. The problem is when a hand takes the gun and what this person want to do with the gun.
Yeah, that is true. Completely true. So I also see that you've been working with Scarlet Records since your third album. Now it's a long time. Obviously, you decide to release 9 Degrees or Destination by Frontiers or Ear Music at that time. But now you return to work with Scarlet Records. So how would you describe your relationship with the label and how is important is it for the band, considering that nowadays there are young bands that choose to self-produce and work independently.
Well, I'm an old guy. I'm old styled. I still believe labels do their job, and I cannot do their job. I can make music, but I cannot release and promote my music. And I'm not interested in doing it. So to me, a label is still very important because you share ideas, you start a project, and then you end it in 1 year. It's something, it's part of the process, which I like. This is why I make music. And Scarlett, it's a label made of friends, which I've been knowing for 25 years now. And they give me something which is the most important thing for a musician. I would not say that, I would not use the word artist, but a musician. It's freedom. They
Hmm.
trust me, they trust the band. They don't ask me to do something because it's going to sell more. They don't ask me to change my style. They just like what I produce and they release it the way I want. So this is why I chose to stay with Scarlett.
Okay, okay. So we are very close to this interview, Olaf. And one of the last questions for this interview is relating just for the power metal in general. As you can see, just the old bands like you, Stratovarius, or the great bands into the in the golden era of the power metal has a well has their own sound, personality in this style. So, but as you can see now, the power metal is stagnated with new bands, and just the Japanese power metal are rising up with a new bands like Love Bites, Galnerius, new bands that are trying to express new things into the power metal, mixing
Yep.
K-pop, pop, different styles, not like heavy metal as you know. So, what is your point of view now about the old guard are very stagnated in the classic sound. Just the Asian bands are appear with a new perspective of the power metal.
Well, this is the good of music. There's always space for someone to bring something new. And I don't know if you know or if you remember, but in '96, when I released my first album with Labyrinth, we
Mhm.
were mixing heavy metal with techno music, dance music. So uh, back then it made some
Mm.
rumor, because some people were like shocked because we were using keyboards, techno keyboards from discotheque. So it sounded funny. So when I look at these new bands and they try to bring something, that reminds me of myself when I was younger. That's the good. At the same time, if I listen to Halloween, if I listen to Stratovarius, if I listen to bands which are coming from the past, I'm expecting them to release the music which made them be the band I like now. It's a subtle and very difficult line to understand for everyone between copying yourself and becoming boring or make it to keep your own style, be recognizable, and release what people love from your band. It's like the recently released album from Judas Priest. I'm the biggest fan of Judas Priest. And when the album came out, I bought it, I pushed play, and I say, wow, that's what I expect from Judas Priest.
Mm.
I wouldn't like Judas Priest to release an album with K-pop, you
Mm.
know,
Yeah.
because this is not Judas Priest. Let them Love Bites, let Galnerius do it. They're great bands. They're going to build their own style, and maybe in 20 years, that will be the new Judas Priest. But nowadays, from bands from the past, I expect them to release high quality music from the style which made me love them.
Mm. Okay, okay, interesting point. And one last question that appears at this moment when you mention about the new bands will more personally in the words with the new albums with the new things. Next question goes to: I always consider that rock or metal music is the music of people that may age well, but keep the spirit in young for everyone. So I listened to the last records, as you mentioned, from the classic bands Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, US, Halloween, Stratovarius, and after decades they can manage the energy on the last albums. But to be realistic, nothing lasts forever. In your opinion, what do you think is going to happen when most classic bands that can perform at stadiums will retire? Will retire? Do you think that there are younger bands that can carry the torch in that aspect?
I think so. There will always be some band carrying it. Uh, uh, in this very moment, we see the very big bands from the past becoming old, and we don't know what will happen, is going to happen in 10 years or 20 years. I think things will still be the same with new names and new bands. Uh, Maybe the way we consider the old bands will change once and forever. I mean, probably the status of a band like Judas Priest or Iron Maiden will not be the same for a new band in the next 20 years because the digital medias, everything goes faster. And we don't know, but I use another example with you. There's a band I still consider. Sometimes they ask me, "Do you listen to anything new? Any new band? Does anything new in metal which you like?" And I find myself funny because my first answer would be, "Yeah, I like Rammstein."
Hmm.
And when I say Rammstein, I still consider Rammstein as a new band. But
Mhm.
actually, Rammstein are not a new band. They have 25, maybe 30 years.
Yeah,
But
30 years.
yeah, but the genre, to me, when I listened to them, was completely new. It's not my style. It's not my top band, let's say, but I always found them interesting and bringing something completely new to music, to metal, to rock in general. But you see, I still mention them as a new band, and I forget they are 30 years old. So I guess the same will happen in the future. Now you talk about Garnerius, Love Bites, and many other bands, and we mention them as a new band, and someday we will realize they released five, six, seven albums.
Yeah,
So
that is.
that will not be the future, that will be the present. And then slowly there will be the past as well. That's the circle of life. I am not really obsessed by this. I live the life and music day by day. I listen to what I like, and that's all. I don't get too much, I try not to get too much confused by these things.
Okay, okay. Well, Olaf, we came to the sad moment of this interview. I hope you enjoyed this interview as I did, and thank you very much for your time. This new album is a tremendous one. Congratulations on this new one.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Maybe you have something to add to your Latin fans that expect your return someday, perhaps next year or by the end of the year, who knows? And obviously, Metallerium followers.
Y quiero agradecerlo a todos a lo que escucharon el nuevo álbum. Estoy muy orgulloso de lo que salió y yo espero que a todos les pueda gustar por lo menos un poco de lo que decimos y ojalá nos vemos muy pronto porque yo particularmente quiero a la América Latina y es como mi segunda casa, segundo hogar. So, ojalá nos vemos pronto.